Welcome, and welcome to the wonderful world of digital photography and the wonderful world of smartphone photography. Thank you for joining us. If you've just joined this channel, maybe it's a good idea to click on subscribe, which is bottom right hand, which takes you to all the different videos that we've actually done so far. But our aim in this channel is to try and show you how you can get really good images from your smartphone without spending lots and lots of effort. So the highlight is take better photos easily, with the focus being on easily. So be really proud of the images that you take. And so welcome once again to the wonderful world of smartphone photography. Or maybe to be more exact, the wonderful creative world of smartphone photography, because it does give you the most amazing creative advantage to have the phone with you at all times. Amazing category, smartphones. Millions and millions are bought. How many of those millions are really used properly to take good images? Let's have a look. How often, when you're walking along, do you just see something and you just stop and you look at this? And the thought that comes to mind is, if only I had my camera with me, because he has a fantastic image. And people sometimes, they say to me, I just never seem to have enough time for my photography. And somehow me, my camera, and great photo opportunities just don't seem to meet at the same time. When you see images like this and you haven't got your camera, it's really such a pity, because you'll remember it, but you won't really remember it. Photography should be a part of our everyday lives, because with the smartphone you have the camera with you all the time, and it should help you to see more of the world as you walk around, because you can capture these images as you see them. Beautiful images. Everyday images. All sorts of beautiful images that you see. It gives us an increased interest in all of our surroundings, because we're looking for photo opportunities wherever we are all the time. And not just when we've got all of our gear, because there are some photographers who maybe haven't quite bought into smartphones, who grab all their cameras and lenses, etc., and go out to take photographs. And then they come back from taking photographs and they put the gear away and they stop taking photographs, which is such a pity, because you miss so many images that you might like to capture. And if you're new to photography, a smartphone can give you a whole new interest in life, because of the things that you can see. Because right now you're looking. Prior to this, you're just wandering along, but now you're actually looking in case you see something that you can capture. All sorts of images. Obviously, watching this to a wide audience, there are different levels of interest and expertise and different types of smartphones. But what we talk about on this channel really are things that apply to all smartphones, irrespective of what brand you're using. It gives you a whole general idea of how to get the best out of that particular camera phone, smartphone that you've got. If you go back to the 19th century, this was photography. Expensive, inconvenient, and heavy. Early 1900s, we got the camera that democratized photography. The Brownie box camera, designed as a children's toy and sold for $1. It turned out that it was more popular with adults, and they sold maybe 100,000 in the first year. And it spawned all sorts of spin-offs in terms of different types of box camera and Kodak Brownie cameras. And also it's a spin-off of all sorts of different sizes of film for different types of cameras that people could now develop. And one of the most important of this was good old Oscar Barnett, who worked for Leica, and they produced this camera that could use 35mm film, which at that stage was only being used to make movies. 35mm film. It became the jack of all trades. And all sorts of cameras were developed that used 35mm film. But the big change came with Casio with the QV10, because what did this one do? It had a little picture on the back, and it was digital, and it was fantastic. You didn't need film, and you could see immediately what you had taken when you were out taking pictures. And that spawned all sorts of digital cameras as well, once the concept caught on. And then we got the camera that really democratized photography. The smartphone camera. Amazing was they have sold millions and millions and millions. And all these people, including you, now do photography with their smartphones. There are so many different smartphones, and they all do all sorts of things, but they do two things together that work as a telephone, and they take images. Then January 2007, Steve Jobs. This was a turning point. The iPhone. Amazing, amazing, amazing. This was a technical breakthrough that was fantastic. And that has spun off hundreds of different brands and just millions of cameras, just phenomenal, all taking the concept of the iPhone. Over 300 million a year are sold. Isn't that fantastic? With your smartphone, you can take stunning images anywhere. Everywhere you go, you can take remarkably good images. From the top of cathedrals to walking in the wildlife, to just standing on rooftops taking sunrise images. Traveling fantastic. You see all sorts of things that you can capture. Let's talk about what smartphone photography can do for your enjoyment of life. Because it really is the camera in your pocket. And it's a real camera in its own right. It's capable of taking real high quality images. It's not some kind of make-do camera. If you treat it with care and consideration, it will bring you wonderful rewards. I've had the opportunity to do photography talks on cruise ships, and you meet a lot of people on cruise ships. And you go out with them and you talk photography because they're talking to you about photography. More and more people talk about photography. And of course, I've run camera courses. I've had maybe 3,000 people join me on my camera courses. And we talk about cameras and photography and obviously smartphones. And this is a point that sometimes still occurs in the back of people's minds. It's not a proper camera. It's not a proper camera. And because it's not a proper camera, we don't use it as a proper camera. Like this gentleman in this punt is taking a picture with his one hand stretched over his head. You don't normally take photographs like that. But if you treat it like a toy, it's going to take pictures like a toy. So maybe if you're using sloppy technique, it means you don't get the good pictures that you should get from your smartphone. This lady using one hand many people do that, and if you're happy with that, that's fine. But if you want good pictures, you should always try and make sure you use two hands whenever you're taking images with your smartphone. But it does give you the most wonderful creative freedom because you've got this camera in your pocket. And you can take all sorts of different style images. You're not stuck in any kind of rut. You can do whatever you like. For example, there's a cup of tea. I mean, who takes a picture of a cup of tea? But it looked interesting, so I took the picture. And when you blow it up, it's amazing. And all those little speckles are actually tea dust. Or if you like coffee, you can do coffee. You can do instant coffee. You can do cappuccino coffee. And if you want to have a closer look at the crystals of sugar, you can do that too. Slightly tongue-in-cheek, but you can take all sorts of interesting images with your smartphone camera. It can be a wonderful new creative outlet, and really sometimes we should forget about selfies. Although selfies have their place, and with many people they enjoy taking pictures of themselves in places of interest, and that's great. But remember, selfies are not new. They've been around for an awful long time, but we just now, with selfie sticks and things like that, we can maybe take better selfies. We can be spontaneous and we can be creative. I just think we can do wonderful things with our smartphone cameras. So thank you for joining me on this first talk. We'd like you to stay with us and look at further talks as they come up, as we try and help you to make the most out of your smartphone camera. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll see you next week. Take better photos easily.